allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Person? Mr. Prince? Here. Ms. Breyer?
Here.
Mr. Pavoni?
Here.
Mr. Taylor? Mr. Corman?
Here.
Ms. Palmer?
Here.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, 2 absent.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Corman.
I move the absent council members be excused.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Corman, seconded by Mr. Prince, that council excuse council members Person and Taylor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The first item on the agenda is a special presentation from the Washington State Department of Transportation. Is Craig here? He is. Craig Stone is here to give us a presentation. Hi, Craig.
Hey, Craig.
Good afternoon, or evening almost here, but appreciate the opportunity to come back to the City of Renton. I wanted to give you a quick update, so how do you want to do this? There we go. Just kind of give you a quick update on the 167, what we call the hot lanes, high occupancy toll lanes that have been operational now for 6 years, believe it or not, and some changes that the city and the folks who use the lanes will see this coming summer. So we're going to be out there with a contract and changing a little bit of striping around, and we think this is actual improvement that may address one of the concerns that we've heard as we've been getting public input on the project. So here we go. So as I mentioned, we actually opened in May of 2008. We have 8 miles southbound, 11 miles northbound, and with that, and it's been a pilot for the state of Washington. We've met every legislative objective that we had before us about how to operate it. People who like to use it, they use it as a choice. It may not be every day, but it might be a day when they want to get someplace. And about 90% of the public's comments back to us is, why do you use it? Well, to avoid congestion, to get to a place I want to get to on time. It's kind of a logical perspective. As you know, when we set out to put the hot lanes in place, they took the existing HOV lane and you had a continuous stripe. You could get in and out of that HOV lane anytime you wanted to. When we came in with the hot lanes, we kept a lot of things the same, the hours of operations, if you have 2 people in your car, you can still be there for free, but if you wanted to have an opportunity as a solo driver to buy in, you could buy in at that price on that particular time, and the price goes up and down depending on congestion. And with that, around the country, we were the 7th experimental kind of hot lane going forward here. And so what we were doing in the industry at the time was putting in these double stripes to try and buffer traffic from the general purpose lanes, from the hot lanes. It was also to try and kind of make sure you captured the revenue stream of people driving up and down, because there's certain locations that you're collecting from. And what we've found from this going forward here is actually the highest concern we've received from users is those double stripes out there. It's not paying the toll, it's not understanding how good to go works on your vehicle, things of that nature. It's, I can't get in and out of the lane where I want to. And so we heard that, and then also we had University of Washington do a kind of before and after study for us. And what they found is the people who are violating that double stripe, you're not supposed to cross it, are not violating to get out of the lane, they're violating to get into the lane. And what happens is they'll drive up the general purpose lanes for a way until they see some congestion, and at that point they're deciding, yes, it's worth it to me, I want to get in the lane. They'll even put their signal on and move over as they're violating the it's a $124 ticket to cross those double white lines, but they're putting their signal on to safely move over and get into it. And this is something we saw in Minnesota also, and we talked with the Minnesota folks. They have opened up some of the access. They've kind of gotten rid of that double striping to make it more open. So that's really what we're pursuing here a little bit, and I wanted to show you. Just stepping back a little bit, 6 years operating, we've tripled our usage on the lane. It keeps growing each year. Last year we were up 12%. As we go forward, we are operating in the standpoint is there is about $1 million of gross revenue we have here that is coming in, and we're operating in the black, so that's being saved. The legislature can choose what to use that for going forward. And on average, you're looking about 8 minutes saved for about a $2 toll. But on some days, you can actually save 21 minutes depending on traffic congestion, so it depends. But on average, that's what we're looking at. Also, the good news is the general purpose traffic is actually operating better too. And so actually the corridor overall is working. So that's kind of some of the overview observations. These are the goals the legislature gave us, talking about how's free flow traffic working, and our hot lanes are operating pretty much free flow all the time. General purpose speeds are up 20%. It's more reliable. There's been reduced congestion. Safety looks to have improved with it. It's also been shown that even for those that are below $50,000 in their household income versus those above, that's about equal usage of the lanes and so forth going forward. So that's been our observations so far. What we have in the situation, though, is, like I said, we have the double stripes, and we've heard from the public. We saw University of Washington study, so what we want to do is change that. And I think there's a little graphic here right now. So right now, you have 4 locations, get this right. I think there's 4 locations southbound and 6 locations northbound that you can actually get in and get out. They're spaced about every 2 miles. And there's a couple of locations specifically. If you're getting on in Kent on Central and you come on, you've got to go all the way past 212 up towards 180th before you can get on there. I've actually seen transit buses cross over not wanting to wait. We've had people complaining that's not where I want to get in and get out with that. So what this program is really going to be to take away that double stripe, go back to that single stripe, the way the HOV lanes work, allow people to get in and get out at their choice as we go forward. We will evaluate this before and after. We'll be working with the University of Washington. This is also what we call a Federal Value Pricing Program grant. So it's specifically to look at and to test the idea of providing this variable tolling going forward with that. And so what we're planning on doing is this summer, probably going to be about a 4-week period. We're going to basically take off one of those stripes, make the striping code continuous. It's not very technical. It's just really about just changing it out there. But part of it is educating the public, how to drive it, what does it mean as we go forward. And so that's what we'll be evaluating. And the idea is to allow people to get in and get out where they want to avoid the congestion, better use of the facility, see if we actually are getting more usage in the lanes, and see if the overall corridor will work more efficiently. And it also, like I said, will help some of those movements where it's fairly restrictive right now. Just another thing, you'll see a lot of signs come down because we won't have the signs saying it's illegal to cross double white lines. We won't have to give people advance notice where to get in and out on those elements. And so we're changing some of those signs around and here. And with that, a lot of the other aspects of the lanes don't change. If you're a solo driver, you still need to have a good-to-go pass in your vehicle. If you're a carpool, transit, van pool, motorcycle, you can still use the lanes as you do today, and we will always guarantee at least 45 miles an hour in the lanes and pricing for that. As mentioned, we'll be evaluating it. These are some of the things that we'll be looking at, and part of that is customer satisfaction. And next steps, we have a contract that's being advertised right now. We hope to have contractors giving us a price here in the next couple of weeks. We will go through that. They'll have about 22 days to do their work in, so it's a pretty short get in, get out situation. And then we'll do an evaluation for the following year. One of the questions I've received is, well, what if you don't like it and how it doesn't work? Well, we do have revenue that's people pay for the hot lanes. It's pretty easy for us to put some striping back. We'll see how the safety works, so we have that opportunity. But our analysis is really saying we think we'll get better utilization out of the lanes, will be more customer friendly. That's really my quick overview for you, and just for any citizens that you have in the city who might use it, just to make sure we're getting the word out.
Okay, thank you, Craig.
Mayor?
Yes, Ms. Breher.
So, do any of these changes make it easier to evade the fees? I mean, I was under the impression that a lot of the reason they had the
Right.
double striping was to make sure that you were in the spot at the right time to get your picture taken.
Yeah, and what we do is, the good question, we have toll points up and down the corridor, and with that, the idea was you kind of keep people in the chute. Now, what we're finding is people are not trying to find the toll point and move out and come back around. We didn't see any of that observation. And the other thing that we found in Minnesota, if there's congestion there, you're not very well inclined to try and get out of that lane, get in the congestion to avoid the toll to get back in. And so really what they want is time savings and being able, that will be part of what we're looking for. So we'll be looking at the toll evasion question. The good news is we don't have any debt against this type of a project, so we're really what we're trying to do is manage the traffic and get the best utilization out of the facility.
Any other questions for Craig? Yes. Marcy?
I just want to thank you for being responsive to the public. You said this was a pilot back in 2008, and I appreciate you following up on that. One question that I get, is it paying for itself now? We knew it wasn't going to at the beginning.
Right. Yeah, so our plan was the first 4 years, we would start off operating in the red, and we would then move to the black. In fact, in year 3, we moved in the black, going through the Great Recession, going through gas prices really picking up. And right now, we have about 1.7 million, I think it is, in the bank on the project, and we are operating the black on that standpoint. And as I mentioned earlier in my comments, it's really up to the legislature how they like to appropriate the funds from that. But they can be used for the corridor, and as they so choose. And so we're pleased. I think we've hit every objective. We're very pleased with the operations. The other good news to me is one of the elements of the 2005 gas tax, there was a 2005 gas tax, that will extend 5 miles southbound hot lanes. So right now where they end around the North Auburn area, they will go down into Pierce County. And so that project will be getting underway. It's about a 2-year construction. And about late 16 or early 17 is when that would open up, and that plan is to extend the hot lanes so you can get further south. And probably the biggest challenges we've had is up here at the 167-405 interchange, which you all know about. You're feeding traffic into a choke point there. We would love to be able to address that question. And also southbound, as you go from 3 lanes down to 2 lanes, as you're going down the valley, that's the other choke point that we have. And so we would like to be able to continue to make those improvements.
And as you know, Craig, we too would love to see that happen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, well, thank you very much for coming out.
you.
We appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Okay, next we have administrative report, Mr. Covington.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, a couple of items of information to the public. Tuesday, June 3rd, 3 p.m., Mayor Law will officially ring the opening bell to kick off the 13th season of our Renton Farmers Market at the Piazza, which is our beautiful urban park. Market will be filled with fresh flowers, leafy lettuce, rosy rhubarb, amazing asparagus, and a virtual cornucopia of other farm fresh produce every Tuesday from 3 to 7 p.m., June 3rd through September 30th. In addition to market fare, shoppers will enjoy live music, tips from master gardeners, the Taste of Renton featuring local restaurants, and children's activities. New for 2014, the Renton Farmers Market is expanding to include Market West, which is located just across Logan Street with artisan craft booths, educational opportunities, and do-it-yourself clinics. And we want to remind folks, summer's right around the corner, so here are a few friendly reminders to help our parks and trails patrons enjoy their experience at City of Renton Parks. Volunteer rangers will be out on the Cedar River Trail beginning the week of May 26th to assist with trail education and report unwanted activity. If you'd like to volunteer, please contact us at 425-430-6600. Remember, dogs are not allowed at Jean Coulon Memorial Beach Park and Kennydale Beach Park. Dogs are allowed at all other parks unless posted and must be kept on a leash. There is an off-leash dog park located along Cedar River Trail across the river from the community center. And if people want to get more information, they can visit our parks webpage at the City of Renton website, which would include information on park rules and regulations, trail maps, share the trail brochure, and picnic shelter rental information. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Covington.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
This reminds me that I received an email a little bit ago from Janet Bertagni, who walks with a group at Coulon in the mornings, and she said there are always dogs. And some people are afraid of dogs, are allergic to dogs, and she said there doesn't seem to be as much policing of that. So I don't know.
If you could provide us with the hours, because we have our animal control there a lot.
Well, I know if I take my dog even to the
get
north
caught,
end,
yeah.
they find me in 3 seconds.
If you could ask her the time,
Okay.
we'll let them know.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Today we received some information from King County in regards to the cardiac survival rates that they're extremely high and they continue to grow because of the success of our Medic One program. And I wanted to invite our Deputy Fire Chief Eric Walgren up to give you some information.
Great.
Good evening, Mayor Law, council members. My name's Eric Walgren. I'm the Deputy Fire Chief, and as the Mayor mentioned, this week is National Emergency Medical Services Week. It's an opportunity to recognize our first responders. There's hundreds of thousands of them across the country that serve their communities by providing EMS. In fact, EMS makes up about 77% of the emergency responses that the Renton Fire Department responds to. We had about 14,000 calls last year, and 77% of those were emergency medical related. Just recently, I don't know if you heard about it, but we had a cardiac save at the Seahawks 12K run at the finish line. That's just an example of citizens jumping into action, emergency responders doing what they're trained to do, and then having a positive outcome. I'm sure you'd also be proud to know that in King County, if you were to have a cardiac arrest, it's one of the best in the world. As Mayor Law mentioned, in 2002, our success rate, our survival rate was about 27%, and now it's 2013, and we're up to 62%. That's quite an accomplishment. The reason for this is we have a coordinated regional system where citizens, dispatchers, fire department, first responders, law enforcement, and paramedics all come together to increase those chances of survival. One of the strategies that have been used to make that success rate so good is the adoption of high-performance CPR methods. Our firefighters have been trained to maximize oxygen circulation, which also increases the survival chances. Also, the adoption of telecommunicator CPR, where our dispatchers are giving those instructions over the phone. Increasing public availability to AEDs, or automatic external defibrillators. There's over 100 facilities in King County that have those right now, and we have quite a few here in Renton. High rates of CPR training for local residents. In fact, we offer CPR classes. And then a regional paramedic training program which exceeds national standards for certification. So I just wanted to recognize this being the week for emergency medical services. Any questions?
Questions from council? Okay, well, thank you very much,
Thank
Eric.
you.
Appreciate it. And lastly, I wanted just to mention something. Marcy Palmer's probably going to mention the fact that June 4th, the Salvation Army is having
Thank you.
a special fundraising dinner. But for a procedural issue, we didn't receive a request for free parking in the parking garage. And of course, this is a fundraising event to help people that need it, and we want to be able to handle that. Our concern is that we may not have enough time to get it through the Finance Committee in time for the event. So I wanted to suggest that maybe the council make a motion tonight to approve that, and then we will go through the normal steps of making sure all the paper notification and all that stuff is taken care of.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. And I would move that council approve giving the Salvation Army fundraising, their annual fundraising dinner, guests free parking.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Palmer, seconded by Mr. Prince, that council approve the free parking for the Salvation Army event on June 4th. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you so much.
But thank you. Okay, moving on to audience comment. We have a couple people signed up to address the council. When I call your name, please come to the podium, give your name and city of residence for the record. You have 5 minutes, and we have a timer with a little flashing light next to the city clerk. First is Tom Carpenter.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Jay. My name is Tom Carpenter. I live in the unincorporated urban area, one of your PAs up on the plateau east of Renton. I have given each of you a packet to make your life as easy as possible. The packet has a transcription of the words I'm going to read to you in just a minute. There's a one-pager that gives kind of an overview of this road segment I want to raise awareness on tonight in bullet form, and then 3 maps. One of them shows the arterial network in the area of this particular roadway. One dives down to a larger scale and actually begins to highlight the road itself. And the final map in here is a map of King County's transportation concurrency and transportation needs data. So with that, I'm just going to read the opening lines. So I'm here to raise awareness of the 154th Place Southeast, 156th Avenue Southeast arterial corridor. This 1.77-mile route connects Maple Valley Highway SR 169 with the Southeast 128th Street arterial on the plateau east of the city. Along with some brief comments, I've created a small briefing package for each of you. Contains a couple pages of description and outline format, along with 3 maps, one showing the arterial system in the area, one showing King County's transportation needs and concurrency, and the third is a large-scale map of the 154th, 156th arterial corridor. Originally passing through an urban unincorporated area, sections of this road today have been transferred from the county to the city as part of annexations. This creates an apparently unavoidable situation where the county disinvests in the urban unincorporated area, prioritizing the assets to rural uses. Unfortunately, the cities are not highly motivated to expend resources in PAAs, particularly in those areas that have demonstrated some reluctance to annex in the past. This creates the perfect storm where the most critical paving or planning elements, such as vision for the area, do not get created, which results in all future efforts running the risk of being wasted. Lack of attention also risks the outcomes being less than satisfying to local residents and other users of these same assets. We've also discovered fundamental differences between the Renton and King County approaches to transportation concurrency. These differences are sufficient to cause development along 154th, 156th corridor to pass Renton concurrency, even though the same development would have failed King County concurrency if the property were still an unincorporated urban area. The package I'm leaving should give a good start to raising your awareness about this arterial, the network it is a part of, the communities and neighborhoods it serves, and the resources it touches. Interspersed in the document are a number of suggestions that have been highlighted. The package will also be submitted to the King County Transportation, Economic, and Environmental Committee. The Tree Committee is an update to a dialogue that we've been had with them that began since the committee started discussing some proposed transportation concurrency policy changes. All I ask you to do is review the materials, think about the suggestions, and help us raise the focus on this important area. I'd also recommend a priority for a very brief conversation intended to share information, ideas, visions, and approaches for the arterial and the community that surrounds it. An hour or two with 1 or 2 people from the community and leadership from the appropriate Renton department should be enough time. The discussion should include the Renton sub-area that includes the arterial, its priority and existing worth. I firmly believe much of the work can be done and perhaps has been done by the community organizations themselves. We are still at the cost of quality sweet spot in the evolution of this arterial, still being able to design in versus fix. However, Renton permitted development has started to change that. Details like development layouts are now being put in a framework that needs some visibility before collectively we can be supportive and confident. Thank you very much for your time. Any questions?
Thank you. I would suggest maybe we put this in planning and development.
Or
if council-
transportation.
Or transportation, which would,
Well, actually, I think it's both, because I have talked to Neil and we'll talk to Chip about this, but I think what we really this has to be viewed as both a community plan, therefore it's in planning development, and a transportation component for the design. First step on this would be to simply contact King County, and we'll do that, and ask, can you show us any designs or work that's been done? Just collect this stuff together. I think that we have an opportunity, think about it. This is a pretty significant connecting corridor.
Yeah.
I think what we could do is have one of our committees review it to begin with, and then it could be passed over to committee of the whole for all the council to review.
However you do it, the game is to raise it up. These things often can go unnoticed, so all I want to do is just do that, and if I've done that tonight, I've been successful. Thank you very, very much for your
You
time.
bet, thank you.
Great, thanks. Transportation?
You think that's where it should start? I'm fine either way.
I'm fine either way as well.
I think transportation may be able to reach most of it, because I think we already have the land use planning element already adopted. This is a matter of talking about concurrency and then better collaboration and coordination with the county. I suspect that part of this will be us sitting down with the county about, and the mayor and I have had these discussions over time about, are we going to get back to, in fact, the council recall, the mayor just sent a letter a month ago asking the county if we were going to get back to talking about joint planning in some of these unincorporated areas. And so this will drive that discussion, I hope.
We'll deliver the same message at the county level. It is joint planning, not just a transportation issue, but probably should be started with transportation.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I
Ms.
brought
Palmer.
up to King County Council Member Reagan Dunn, I believe it was last month, that a letter had been transmitted to the executive about requesting that they work with our planning and development because of the annexations. And Julia transmitted that. Unfortunately, it said January 2013, and it wasn't corrected before it was sent. We can follow up on that, but Councilmember Dunn, when I talked with him personally, was concerned that it had not even been addressed by the county. And then I also have the Maple Valley Highway transportation issue in transportation. So with your approval,
Absolutely. That's
I
fine.
would move that this be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Okay. It's been moved by Ms. Palmer, seconded by Mr. Corman, that this item be referred to the Transportation Committee. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Mayor, we'll follow up on the correspondence that Councilwoman Palmer mentioned. I did check with that. Actually, there are two letters, one January 13 and one January 14. So we'll make sure that the county has both of those.
I would just like to hear a response.
Yeah.
Just a non-response is not acceptable to me.
Exactly.
Thanks. Okay. Next is Howard McComber.
I'll make this very short. Howard McComber, live in the Renton Highlands. We just appreciate all the help that you folks give us in the charity programs going on here. We are, I don't know what it is, but we just need a little bit more help down at the, the Renton Coalition Supper. We need more volunteers and we need people to donate. So if you'd like to touch base, Shane McCormick down at the Salvation Army will take a call. Anybody down there will take a call. They will accept food items, and you can get a little conversation. It's just a wonderful thing to do. Sometimes the summertime, it's less than Christmas when we need to spread things out, but the hunger doesn't go away. The second thing has to do with school children knowing that there's school lunch available during the summer. So there's food available, and just needs to get the word out. So if you have a chance, you have someone you can contact, church groups, civic groups. If you'll do that, it'll make a happier summer. And congratulations for opening that fabulous playground.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you.
We'll make sure, if we don't have it already, that we get that posted on our website too, for the food needs.
Right, and next week, I think, as part of the presentation the council received from Community Services, we'll make sure they highlight the summer lunch program and locations, and then follow up with making sure that gets out to everybody.
But thanks, Howard. Inez Peterson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Inez Peterson. I was in the post office today and someone came up to me and they said, "Hey, you're the person who speaks at the council meeting. I keep your picture on my refrigerator." And I said, "Here, keep my phone number too and call me." Now, I know that I say controversial things up here, and many more citizens are watching this than are in this room tonight. And if you agree or disagree with me, call me. Let me know what you think. 206-339-8210. So, 2 weeks, I couldn't come last week because I was doing my lawyering. It was a very rewarding project I had, helping a disabled veteran. But I'm here tonight, and I wanted to follow up on the mayor's admonition to me that I learn about Balanced Budgeting 101. Now, I want to tell you that I decline that invitation. Now, I had spoken about the Renton Reporter headline that said we had the $8 million deficit in the budget. And then the next week, we had another headline. This is where the Renton Finance Department got an award for its innovation, efficiency, and improved productivity. Now, I'm not the only one who saw that there was something ludicrous about this picture. How can we be creative and innovative one week and $8 million in the hole another? It doesn't make sense. Now, maybe to you bureaucrats it makes sense, but to Renton citizens it does not make sense. If a balanced budget means $8 million in the hole, then please, council, don't let the mayor give us a balanced budget. We want a budget that's balanced in a way that means we aren't $8 million in the hole. it's balanced in a way that says, hey, we aren't going to have the $600 fee. Here it is in this headline. One possible new source of revenue is a $600 charge for using the emergency medical to take you to the ER. Well, thank goodness that disappeared into thin air, but it's among the fees and rate increases that this headline says the mayor is proposing. You know, you council members, you are our citizens' resort to protect us from these onerous increases and increases and increases. Don't balance the budget on our backs. When you're paying $45 to license a 4-pound cat, when you're paying taxes on your utilities bill, and even rent and taxes, the tax on your utilities, people, I invite you, start looking at your utilities bill and see what I'm talking about. The way the city is sneaking a fast one in on you by taxing everything that's possible. There just has to be a limit, and we can't be 8 million in the hole. So we're just looking to you to really, now here's the opportunity to really be innovative, effective, and have improved productivity. There's where you can really win a finance award. So with that, I'll end my comments tonight. Call me if you agree or don't like what I say. I'm willing to discuss things with anyone. And I have my website, underdoglaw.info, which I'll be updating. And I hope to speak to you again. Thank you.
So, Mr. Covington, Ms. Peterson isn't interested in Finance 101, but did you want to explain to her the difference between a balanced budget and a projected
Sure.
loss?
And it's too bad that she missed the meeting because we did talk about this a couple weeks ago. And the other thing I just suggest is if you read the full article, you'd get better informed than just the headlines. Actually, the headline talked about the projection, which we talked about several weeks ago. I'll go through it again for those people who did listen in, just so they can be reminded one more time. When you look 4 years out to 5 years out, just as you would in a household budget, you try to estimate what your expenses are going to be, what your revenues are going to be. So you're always trying to make sure at the end of the month you end up still in the black. That's exactly what we're doing as a city. So the article was about, if nothing is changed, we could end up by the end of 2018 as much as $8 million in the hole. And so our effort was to try to identify and educate the council on what might happen if no actions are taken. And so we have some choices. We can adjust our budget just as a household would. You take a look at what your expenses are and you adjust those, or you determine if you need to go out and raise additional revenue. Maybe you have to work more hours or something else. In our case, we look at fees, we look at other revenue sources. That's what the council is considering. We have 4 years in which we need to do this. We're going to be starting our 2015-16 budget. The budget is currently balanced. By law, we have to balance the budget. Ms. Peterson, I think, is well aware of that. She's an attorney, so she should be aware of the law in that regard. We are in compliance with the law. We do win those budgeting awards every year, have done, because of the outstanding work that our staff does in estimating and keeping us in compliance with the law and with budgeting principles. So once again, for any of the other folks who are out there listening and would love to have more information, we are more than happy to sit down with anybody and discuss and provide information. We'll be starting the budget process this summer, and there will be folks from the community involved in that. We've done that the last 6 years. They provide invaluable help in just providing insight and recommendations that we then bring back to the mayor and the council. The council then deliberates. It's a long process. The council ultimately adopts the budget based on the information they receive from the community and from the staff. So this city has done a great job in the past and will continue to do so, and I think the public can rest assured that you're in good hands with regard to those professionals and this mayor and council who are very, very acutely aware of their responsibilities for the fiscal welfare of the city.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have 12 items for the council to consider. Are there any items a council member would like pulled for discussion? I will make note that, as you have already seen, we did have an error on the original agenda referring the neighborhood grant program to finance, but that's going to community services.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
seeing none, I move that we concur with the consent agenda.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Prince, second by Ms. Palmer, that council concur with the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to unfinished business, Mr. Prince.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Breyer,
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Pavoni,
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Corman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one Public Safety Committee report to present.
Public Safety Committee report, massage facility inspections. The Public Safety Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to amend Renton Municipal Code, Section 615-4A2, in order to clarify the elements of violation. Specifically, this amendment will ensure that Section 615-4A2 is interpreted as requiring the license holder, massage practitioner, on-site manager, property owner, or others authorized to use or control the massage facility to permit inspections authorized by one or all of the applicable statutes or ordinances. The committee further recommends that the ordinance regarding this matter be presented for first reading. This is signed by the committee chair and member.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Corman.
move the council concur in the committee report.
Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Corman, seconded by Ms. Breyer, that council concur with the Public Safety Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Ms. Palmer.
No unfinished business, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
thank you. Moving on to resolutions and ordinances, we have one ordinance this evening.
Okay, this ordinance is regarding the clarified massage facility inspection regulations. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending subsection 615-4A2 of Chapter 15, Massage Establishments, of Title 6, Police Regulations of City Code, clarifying the elements of violation.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Corman.
move the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting.
Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Corman, seconded by Ms. Breyer, that this ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason. Moving on to new business, Mr. Prince.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a few items to announce. The Plan Development Committee, normally scheduled for May 22nd, is canceled. Monday is City Hall, Monday, May 26th, City Holiday, so there are no council meetings at all. And then for council president person, Committee of the Whole on Monday, June 2nd, 6 o'clock here in the council chambers. We've got one item, Community Services Department update, including senior business plan briefing and Coolon Park summer activities. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Breyer?
Yes, the Finance Committee is going to meet on Monday, June 2nd, at 4:30 p.m. We have 4 items: Community Services Reorganization, the Farmers Market Grant, which is an interlocal agreement with King Conservation District, concession agreement with Ivers and Kid Valley at Coolon Beach Park, and some utility bill adjustments. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pavoni?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Utility Committee meeting for June 2nd is canceled.
Okay. Mr. Corman?
Just going to announce that the Public Safety Committee meeting for June 2nd is also canceled.
Okay, and Ms. Palmer?
Yes, thank you. The Transportation Committee, normally scheduled for this Thursday, May 22nd, is canceled. And as Mr. Prince mentioned, next Monday is a holiday, Memorial Day, and I'd just like to invite everyone to the city celebration at 1 p.m. at Veterans Park. I think this is the 2nd or 3rd, maybe 4th year we have celebrated our veterans, and it's a beautiful service, less than an hour, and I would encourage any of you to come out. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Prince, would you announce the Community Services?
Yeah, sure. Community Services Committee meeting is on Monday, June 2nd, 6 o'clock. And it will be, at 5:30 in the council conference room. And it'll be 2014 neighborhood grants.
Great.
That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay, audience comment, last audience comment. I assume you have something different to talk about besides budget? Okay.
Yes, I want to talk about whether Renton Reporter headlines are accurate or not. Because,
So, Ms. Peterson, my suggestion to you would be to call the Renton Reporter and ask them, since it's not a fair question to ask the council to respond to.
excuse me, but Mayor, this is quoting you. And it says, this was in 2012, we were given the impression from Jay Covington's comments that this $8 million or $10 million shortfall, you're budgeting way out in the future, and so that explains how you have a balanced budget with not enough money to pay
Well,
everything.
here's the, let me once again, you have declined the offer to come and learn a little bit about our budgeting process, so we're not going to take council time trying to educate you every time you come up with a headline or something that you want
No,
explained.
when you say
it's something
something
that has to do
erroneous,
with the
I would like an
newspaper.
opportunity to go
Just a
on the
moment,
record.
Ms. Peterson, I'm telling you right now, you have a question about the Renton Reporter, give them a call.
This is about comments you made. Should
we
be
have
accountable
explained-
for those comments.
Okay,
In 2012, you admitted that the budget had a 10 million shortfall for the 2 years. We weren't out 6 or 8 years like Jay tried to make us believe. It was the budget that you all passed, council members. It already had a $10 million
So, Ms.
problem in it.
Peterson, this is the second
The
time we've had to explain
citizens
this. We
will
did
agree
explain
with
that
me.
article.
Okay, Ms. Peterson, we're finished talking about this.
I will sit down, but I ask the citizens, just listen to what has transpired here and remember it when you go to vote.
Okay, what's the wish of the council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Mr.
I did want to make a comment. that-
Sure.
I think, I'll take a little poke at the Renton Reporter here. The last article they did we had a discussion about budgeting, and I thought that a large portion of the discussion was devoted to talking about efficiencies that we had achieved throughout the city. And it sounded like every single department over the last 5 years had made major inroads in reducing staff and doing more with less. It was really an impressive discussion. And then we talked about how in the future we might need to find new ways to make revenue, that we couldn't continue to squeeze more and more. And I thought that when the Renton Reporter actually did the article, they left out the first 80% of that meeting and just discussed the last part. And I think they did a disservice to the community, and I think that's part of the reason we've heard the comments that we've heard in here, that if, the complete story is, there's more to it, and the fact is, with a 1% property tax limitation and the costs going up at 2 or 3%, we're in trouble in the future. We got to come up with some ideas, but people have worked really hard. Anyways, I thought that the moment I saw that article in the Renton Reporter, I thought this didn't cover that meeting very well, and here we are. So, anyways, that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Kerman.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Ms. Palmer.
I think it was touched on that we had the grand opening of the Meadowcrest Playground.
Right.
I just want to say, no pictures do it justice. I was blown away by how fabulous it was, and we had hundreds of people there on Saturday morning. And then after church on Sunday, we drove by, it was about 12:30. There were tons of people, all kinds of cars in the parking lot, people having picnics, people unloading strollers. So it truly is a destination, and I couldn't be prouder, more thankful.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks
Marcia.
to all the community partners.
Yeah.
This, wow,
That
wow.
was a great event.
Here.
Randy described it this morning, or when he came in today, that it was like going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
In Renton, in the Highlands.
Felt like
Go
it.
see it if you haven't been there, even if you don't have kids. My 16-year-old wants to go back. Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you. What's the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn?
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. Corman, that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Participating in the Safe Routes to School program. It's a program that looks at seeing